And tonight we are speaking with Eric Early. And Eric is California Super Lawyer of the Year since 2005. He has run for office in California, including running for Congress against Adam Schiff and Attorney General. We are going to talk tonight a little bit about the election perspective on what's happening. First, I want to say welcome, Eric, and congratulations. Eric just tied the knot, and we are very happy for him. So there it is.
Oh.
I'm so happy for you guys. So congratulations. So the first thing I'd like to talk about, because so many of us really are just, biting our fingers over here, your perspective of what's happening with this election would just be great to hear.
Okay, well, thanks for having me, Ann. Listen, what we're all witnessing happening with the presidential election is, for those of us who supported the president, like I do, like you do, like so many of your viewers do, this is not a happy time to watch what's going on. I believe that this election was stolen from him. I really do. I believe that. All these shenanigans that we keep seeing and hearing evidence about, you put together this combination of this universal mail-in balloting and all of the things that can be done to tamper with and affect the vote, those ballots. And then you throw in these software problems and the fraud that can be done with the software, which I firmly believe occurred, and we're in this terrible situation we're in now. Then you throw in the mainstream media, this group of psychos that spent every single living moment for the last 4 years trying to destroy Donald Trump, his family, everybody who supported Donald Trump, everything he did. And they have taken it upon themselves to tell us who the president is and to tell us what is important and what is not important. And the fact that they are just laughing essentially at everybody who takes the position that this election very possibly was stolen from the president for the reasons I was talking about, or for other reasons. These are tough times. And so I think Rudy Giuliani is an amazing lawyer, frankly. And I know the president has a good legal team around him. But from a legal perspective, the biggest hurdle I see, and the biggest hurdle that I know a lot of people see, is that what the president needs to show in the incredibly limited time that he's given to show it is what makes this so difficult from a legal standpoint. For example, with these software issues, this Dominion software, this Smartmatic software, and the kind of proof you need to show the fraud that will need to be shown. That's the reason why lawsuits usually take a year, 2 years, 3 years, because discovery needs to be done, depositions taken, sworn statements obtained, documents received and analyzed, experts to testify about it. And Giuliani and his team are forced to do all this in, this 3-4 week period. And, all we hear from everybody is, where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? Well, we've got lots of stories. People with common sense know that what these stories are telling us is very possible, could happen, and likely did happen. But to gather the kind of evidence that they're claiming they need right now within a 3-week period is a Herculean task that I don't know if they'll be able to be successful in that task in the limited amount of time they have to prevent the certification of an election. If they were given the time it took, the normal course of time to litigate and get to the bottom of this, which I hope they'd spend doing regardless of what happens with the election, I think we're going to see things that are going to be remarkably bad.
So that's interesting. Let's talk about that, because if that should happen, let's say we take the year and we find out there was tremendous cheating in a year from now, what could happen? Anything? Or is it, that's it, it's over? When does it end? When does the fight end for him and make it so it's not even a possibility? Is it an
the fight is going to end when all the electors get into D.C. and go through whatever motions they have to go through and steps they have to go through to officially elect the next president of the United States. That's when the fight's going to end. So if Giuliani's team is not able to stop that before January sometime, then what happens is hopefully the Giuliani team continues litigating these things, continues trying to get to the bottom of this software issue and these other issues, all these voting irregularities. And if it takes a year or two, hopefully at a minimum, steps are taken to prevent this from going on into the next, whatever the next election is going to be after that. But thankfully, if worse comes to worse, and if Biden ends up being officially the president, which will be a travesty for all the reasons you know and all your viewers know, then Donald Trump could run for election again in 2024. I'm seeing all of these issues really on a smaller scale in my own election, running against the pathological lying sack of you know what, named Adam Schiff. Yeah.
In California elections, I mean, there's so many who won't concede at this point because, in a couple of the races, they said they stopped counting them, and people are not wanting to concede until they do hand recounts under a microscope. And I know there are certain ones in Los Angeles that they have not conceded. I mean, many of them they haven't conceded. But keeping on with the president, because I do want to talk to you about California politics in a second, but all these courts throwing out all these cases for Trump, obviously they're part of this coup, and because you have affidavits signed under penalty of perjury by individuals, and the judge is just throwing these cases out one by one, these Democrat elected judges, these corrupt judges, I feel, people keep laughing about it and basically saying they're throwing them out. What happens after this? Can they build up enough of a case to take this to the Supreme Court and have it ruled in the Supreme Court? How does this work? Because I think a lot of people don't really know.
I think that depending on what happens, for example, with, I think it might be the Pennsylvania ruling, it might be the Georgia ruling that went up to the Court of Appeal already in one or both of those states. And if the Court of Appeals denies either or both of those rulings, or if it's happening in another state, then the next step is you try and take it up to the next level, which is the U.S. Supreme Court. And I think it's quite possible that cases like the Pennsylvania case and possibly the Georgia case and possibly one of these two others might end up in the U.S. Supreme Court. And then it's up to the U.S. Supreme Court to determine whether or not there's enough there to prevent certification or reverse certification, or even, well, I don't see it happening, ordering a new election. I just don't see that happening. So I don't think it's going to happen.
I've been hearing that one a lot. I just didn't know if that was actually even possible. Can it legally happen?
The U.S. Supreme Court can do a lot of things. So if they determine that it's legal and passes muster to order a new election, then it'll happen. But I'd be surprised to see a new election happen, frankly. I'll tell you one thing I'm really interested in seeing is, I've been following Sidney Powell. I think she's a very good lawyer. She was a former federal prosecutor. I think she's highly intelligent. I don't know what happened between a couple days ago and now, where she was on the president's team. Now she's not on the president's team. Perhaps it's because of some statement she made publicly that the president's team didn't want to be associated with. But who knows? I'm just speculating. But nonetheless, Sidney seems to be very focused on the Dominion software, the Smartmatic software issues. And, and apparently, from what I'm seeing out there anyhow, she's still planning to file a lawsuit relating to that stuff. And I must tell you, I'm very, very curious to see what it is she files. Because, if she could show widespread fraud in how people's votes may have been manipulated, for example, by, software that can, with computers, you can do anything. You can take 100,000 votes and turn it into one vote by the press of a button, right? I'm very curious to see what she's going to come up with. Because that's the kind of stuff that could be, could be dramatic. But at the same time, whether she could have enough evidence, sort of like what I was saying before, to bring about a dramatic result within this incredibly short period of time that she's working under, I'm not sure if she can do that. And even if she can't do it during that time, I hope she continues with that lawsuit. Because like I said, we have to get to the bottom of this stuff. I mean, I'll talk about my candidacy and my election during this interview, but we got to get to the bottom of this stuff. We got to get our elections. We got to get to a point where we as people, we as citizens, we as candidates can again trust the outcome of our elections and trust that our votes are actually being counted fairly.
On Friday, the Supreme Court reassigned the circuits, giving Justice Samuel Alito, Pennsylvania, which he already had, I believe, but Kavanaugh, Michigan, Amy Coney Barrett, Wisconsin, Clarence Thomas, Georgia. And I also want to note that Justice Samuel Alito has Texas. Justice Kavanaugh also has Ohio, and Justice Thomas also has Florida. So these are all very well protected states for them to be taking on in the Supreme Court. And is this an important move? And if so, why?
Thankfully, those are considered the more conservative judges on the bench. And, you want to have conservative justices overseeing these battleground states, as many of the battleground states as possible, because the lawsuits in the presidential election are coming out of the battleground states. And the ultimate, these justices in their jurisdictions are the first line of determining whether or not these cases will be heard at the Supreme Court level, or whether they won't be heard at the Supreme Court level. So, for example, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan, I wouldn't want the Sotomayors of the world making the decision whether or not that's going to, be shown to the full panel to determine whether or not it gets heard at the Supreme Court level. So, thankfully, we've got some good justices overseeing the battleground states.
I was going to ask you about Sidney Powell. I think we're all kind of spinning our heads on that. I think that it does seem like she is continuing on. Was there possibly maybe a conflict of interest with her investigating the government? Is there like some sort of conflict of interest? I mean, do you feel like she's going to continue on?
Well, they said she's not on the legal team, so she's not on the legal team. But she's also continuing on. She claims she's representing hashtag We the People. So I don't know that if that's an official client or that's what she's calling it. And then when she files a lawsuit, the plaintiff's name will be a different plaintiff name. But I think she appears to be continuing on in her own right, and I hope she continues on.
I do too.
I want to see. I'm telling you. Listen, I think this software stuff is the biggest issue of the day. Frankly, I think it's so easily listen. We don't have to be lawyers. We don't need to be judges. We don't need to be candidates. We just need to be people and use our common sense. And we don't need to be computer geniuses or software engineers or all the other things to know that if it's computerized, it can be easily manipulated, and manipulating large numbers of anything on a computer is not hard to do. I'm not a computer expert by any means, but it's so easy with the software they have to manipulate software. So then, the next question is, but are there really evildoers out there, fraudsters out there who are willing to do such things, who would do such things? And again, we all know the answer to that one is as big a yes as possible. And we know that these people on the far left especially, they're insane. They will do anything to destroy Donald Trump. They will do anything to destroy the Republican Party, frankly, and they don't care about the law. They don't care whether they're breaking the law. They don't care whether they're lying. They don't care whatever. They think they're morally superior, and they therefore think that they are more, if they're morally right, which they're not, but they believe they are, that they are entitled to do anything. And so you give them the power of this kind of this election software, and it's just chilling what you can imagine could happen. And so I'm not surprised about it at all. Out here in California, I think it's a disaster. I think we had huge problems out here with it, and I'm very concerned about it. And Sidney Powell is the one focusing on that. And you know, another thing that has sort of disappeared from the news lately is there was reporting on something called the Hammer and Scorecard. This use of this huge governmental supercomputer do all kinds of stuff, and I don't doubt that stuff like that could have happened too, to manipulate this. And you know, it's and the environment we're living in, and all your viewers know this, and you know this, is that when when President Trump was being scrutinized by the mainstream media, there is nothing that he or anybody could have done or allegedly done, and it didn't turn into a breaking news story that lasted for months. I mean, you know, whatever. You know, for example, one of millions of examples, Donald Trump Jr. spoke to a Russian lawyer. You remember, a Russian woman lawyer. For the next 2 months, that turned into Russia. You know, that was huge news as part of all the other BS coming out on Russia collusion. And they turned this nothing of a meeting into the worst thing that ever happened. You know, Pelosi, constitutional crisis, all this stuff. Not including all the other garbage they were throwing at us about Russia collusion. Whereas here, every day of the week, there are substantial stories coming out about all kinds of actual election fraud, potential election fraud, massive recount issues, the software issues we're talking about. And yet, from the mainstream media standpoint, they're laughing at us. You know, it's like, you know, we're all just a bunch of idiot conspiracy theorists. And I'll tell you, Ann, it's something I say more and more. I've got a couple radio shows, but there's 75 million of us that voted for Donald Trump. There's several other million who couldn't vote or didn't vote, who support Donald Trump. And these people in the mainstream media and these Democrat elected officials and so many of these far left crazies think that they're going to continue treating us all like we're a bunch of idiots, that we're just going to be ignored, that, you know, that they're going to be able to continue really doing these heinous things to put in office who they want to put in office and destroy people that people like us support. And, you know, they're sorely mistaken. There's only, how long is it going to be? 75 million people are not going to stand down and just take it forever. Not going to happen. There's a lot of angry people out there. You know, I talked to lots of people when I was campaigning. I talked to lots of people. I talk to lots of people now. There's a lot of angry people who are smart people who don't buy in. You know it, millions of us who don't buy into this morally superior, politically correct garbage from the other side, and we're getting pissed off.
There's a lot of really intelligent people that are buying into the narrative on the other side. I mean, you have to be blind.
On the other side, well, you know, listen, that are buying into it. You know, there's a lot of people have like great. You look at their resumes; they have amazing educational credentials, and yet they're morons. So, you know, I believe you can be a highly educated moron, and I think, unfortunately, there's so many people on the other side of the aisle that fit that bill. Certainly in this district I live in.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, California politics. I mean, Adam Schiff couldn't be more.
He's a highly educated moron. I mean, that's Exhibit A.
He couldn't be more disgraceful. I think, to use President Trump's favorite word. He was so embarrassing, reading a fake transcript, and just, you know, I was at your debate, which you crushed him.
Thank you.
Yeah, he's just a complete disgrace, and nothing that comes out of that man's mouth is honest. Let's talk now about California politics, because it seems like California is a pretty red state for what everybody calls the bluest state in the 50 states. I don't see us being blue. I think there's a couple of major areas, like a lot of places in Los Angeles are pretty blue, and I understand that the population is greater there. San Francisco certainly has a majority of blue, but you go through the rest of California, it's huge. It's an enormous state, and we have a lot of red voters here. What do you think is going on in California? Because I don't feel like the votes are being represented correctly.
Well, I agree. And listen, let me use my race as an example to start off with. Um, yes, we're in California's 28th district. Yes, it's a very blue district, if you believe the numbers. But we had an incredible campaign. We had hundreds of volunteers. We were knocking on thousands of doors, making tens of thousands of phone calls. We raised a good deal of money. We're running commercials against Schiff constantly. And he, for the first time in 20 years, was running commercials against an opponent of his, against me. We had all kinds of advertising, we were talking to so many people. Our phone polls were showing that, you know, moderate Democrats and independents were coming over to our side because they were done with this pathological Adam Schiff. Of course, we were getting the Republican vote, and then the votes come out, and it's the same percentages that we've seen for years out here. And so many people have told me, and I certainly believe there was something wrong with this vote count. Uh, it just doesn't add up. We believe, you know, we should have had 10 to 15% more votes. And so, and then you look into it some more and you see that LA County has this Smartmatic software, which apparently was developed in, you know, in Maduro's Venezuela. You know, that in other states they wouldn't use this same software because it's filled with security problems. We have a county and a state that is, you know, I wouldn't trust our Secretary of State Padilla as far as I could throw his sorry butt. Then you got this guy Dean Logan in LA County who runs the election office, who has a history of badness, and I really do believe in my bones, and I'm not a tinfoil hat guy or anything like that. That badness went on with the software, and that badness went on with the how the universal mail-in ballots were submitted, and that a lot of them were probably submitted by people who didn't have the right to submit those ballots. So, you know, it's a terrible thing. So that's here in the district, and I think this is happening up and down our state, largely, not all over, but mostly in our state. And I think when you and that's one of the reasons, one of the main reasons why you have these arrogant SOBs like the empty suit, as I call him, our governor Newsom, this arrogant pathological liar Schiff, Garcetti, this spineless worm of a mayor, you know, the Attorney General, a Marxist named Javier Becerra, Pelosi, the whole group of them, why they get to an election time and they all know they're going to be just fine. And regardless of the way the actual voting public is shifting and starting to vote more and more red. So this is incredibly troubling for me. And, you know, it's a big issue for me. And we got to do something about it because, as you know, along the lines of what you're saying, I believe Republican voters, they're more and more of all races, creeds, and colors in our state. And this state is ready to go red again, but for some of the things I was just describing. And so we're going to have to get to the bottom of it.
I told you that we weren't going to take too much of your time, but I do appreciate you coming on and talking to our community. Is there anything else that you want to talk about that you think that you could give anybody some confidence on this whole thing?
Well, yeah, let me say a few things and along those lines. And my cat is down here trying to jump on my lap. So she comes up here. She likes being on Zooms. Listen, I've always been an optimist in my life. The people that know me best say I'm optimistic to a fault. And I really do believe that regardless of what we're going through right now in this country, and we're going through a lot, we're not only dealing with our foreign enemies, we're dealing with these domestic enemies, these communists, these socialists, these anarchists, these Antifas that are coming out of the woodwork every single place. These BLMs, these that are now all going to be emboldened by this if Biden actually becomes president. I really do believe that we're going to be okay in America. We're in a fight now. We're going to be in a fight for a while. I believe more and more people are going to step up and join this fight, and we're going to quell this uprising of domestic enemies in our country. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take a while, but I believe that's going to happen. And I know I'm doing everything I can to be part of that fight. And I know so many people out there, the vast majority of this country are good, decent, honest, fair-minded people, believe in, God, faith, and family, and or God, family, and country. And I do believe we're going to be okay. And one other thing, this is for your viewers out there, and as you see, my cat has joined us. One other thing, this was certainly not my last race. I like being a candidate. I like being in the arena. I like fighting for the great people of this great country, and this great state. And so we're thinking. I'm talking to people. People are talking to me. But we're going to be back. So that's what I have to say. And Anne, thanks to shows like yours, we're getting the word out more and more, notwithstanding these socialist rags like the LA Times and the mainstream media, which is generally basically an organ of the Democrat Party.
Well, thank you.
And I'm not going to say her name on camera, but she says hi.
Oh, hello.
She is, folks, right there. Oh.
So cute. I love it. Well, that's a first for me on my show. Love it.
She's done this on national TV before. It's she likes the limelight.
That's awesome. And it says so much about, I love people that love their pets. Great.
3 dogs too, for all you dog lovers out there. Thankfully, they're not jumping on my lap.
Mine's sitting here. Thank you, because I really do value your opinion and your expertise, and I know our community does. I do appreciate your legal perspective and just your political perspective. I mean, running for Congress against Adam Schiff, I know you have a pretty good perspective on politics as well as the law. We all thought you were such an incredibly strong candidate, and I know everyone loved you. We're excited. I know I can speak for everyone that you are going to be back, and I'm looking forward to that. And I'd love to hear more about that.
You'll be hearing about it when we make the decision. You'll definitely hear about it.
Awesome. Well,
okay.
Thank you, Eric Early, for being here. I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks for everything, Ann. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody. God bless all of you, and God bless this great country of America.
God bless you.